Yeah, we met at the doctor's office, you know.
Perfect. Okay.
Your greetings each and everyone, yo. Escape the City Dub Talk, second year in a row, yo. And we got none other than Ras Muffet joining us.
Yes, sir. Welcome. Welcome.
Blessed. I know enough people are gonna come after. It's the third day of the festival, you know. Everybody enjoying themselves, so we're gonna share something. Did they say in Bristol? All right, my lover.
Nah.
Nah?
All right, my son.
All right, my son.
That's the Bristol talk.
It's
All right, my love, it's London.
all right, my love is London. Yeah. You was born in Bristol.
I was. Yeah, I was born in Bristol. Parents moved away when I was 3 to Wolverhampton, which is in the West Midlands of the UK. There I spent my youth up until 12, 13. Then the whole family moved to London. That's when my whole life started.
And they say you're doing this music since 1979. Is that true?
Recordings, yeah. But I've been involved with Soundsystem since 1972.
So them say early 70s. I read somewhere you were a box boy for Just Shaka.
That's right.
How did you come to this?
Well, you graduate as time go along. But when your initiation is box boy, so you lift box and carry the sound. From there you graduate to wiring the boxes, you know, and if you're fortunate enough, you might get to play the song one day. That's how it was. I was 15 when I started.
15. Back in what,
1972.
1972, see? And 79 took you to what? Start your own. Did you start your own sound system?
I started my own sound system 77, 78. Called Jah Marcus in West Midlands. Yeah. That's the period when I left London and went back to the West Midlands. I was 19, and we built a song called Jah Marcus based in Wolverhampton, which lasted for about 6, 7 years. But within that time, you know, we achieved a lot, you know. Yeah, and I was still in contact with Shaka and various other sound men and producers at the day on the day, you know.
I see when you talk about these times, you were 15 in the early 70s, then late 70s, you become gradually older, and things are happening in the UK. So especially summer of 77 and spring of 81, yeah? You know what I'm talking about. Can you tell me a bit more, like, what was it for young black youth in them days there? And especially regarding, you know, SAS laws, and were you involved in some of the things that happened in 81 riots and there?
We were all involved one way or another indirectly because it was countrywide. You know, all the troubles that in those days was countrywide. It wasn't located to one area. It was all of the UK. So, you know, with that in mind, you know, things still have to move forward, you know, we overcome that. And for a lot of us, sound system became, you know, the thing that took us away from the badness, took us away from any troubles that, you know, we concentrate on sound system. So it became a saving grace to all of us, you know, sound system. And obviously it expands to the world now. Sound system is worldwide. I'm looking at boxes, you know, and speakers and things related to sound system, you know, 2024 and beyond. So, yeah.
It moved international, like, but exactly in the last 30, 40 years, you know, it was basically a strictly JA in UK thing in them days, yeah? When did you first start the meddling in music production?
I started in 79.
And who taught you? And say, I was talking one time to Dub Judah, and him say the prices for studio time, and talked about prices for studio time compared to the wages he got working at a press factory for clothes or something like that. So 2 weeks wages for like 1 hour of studio time. And you had to do it quick. So he told me like, I got a piece of paper, wrote like, okay, minute 23, high face filter, this and that. And how did you get about it, basically? It was like...
Well, I overcame that by building my own studio.
Real?
Yeah. So 79, I built a recording studio, which there wasn't many in my area at the time. Those days I couldn't play an instrument. So what I relied on was musicians local to me. Anyone heard of Capital Letters?
Yeah.
Well, they were local to me, all the musicians that made up that band. So I would call the bassy, I would call the drummer, I would call the keyboardist, and we just build tune at random. Just building tune. If anyone ever watched the Coxsone story?
Yes.
The Studio One story? Well, just an example. My house or my flat at the time, by 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, there would be like 50 people outside my front door.
Yeah.
Artists, musicians, you name it. And with that, that's how I started to create my early productions. So I was lucky because I have musicians playing my early productions, so they sounded good from the very beginning. You with me? Unlike, you know, me trying to play something which I'm not, you know what I mean? But saying that, the musicians, after each session, they used to leave their instruments at my studio. So I alone used to sit in the studio and take up the bass with my one finger and start practice, and then I became 2 finger. And before you know it, I'm playing bass. Left-handed, upside down bass guitar. So I learned to play the opposite way of scale, you know. But, and keyboard, same thing, you know, I leave it there. And because I'm musically minded, remember I am coming from Soundsystem. And it's a natural progression for a sound man to end up playing sound, then you go into production, or cutting plates, and then from plates you go into production. That's how it was. So it was a natural progression for me. You know, so I built my own studio to overcome that. And that's what happened. And from there I learned to play myself. I became digital 1984. So from 78 up until 84, all the music tracks were live. Live drums, live everything. All this was done in my flat. A 3-bedroom flat, council flat, you know. And one room was a drums, and I had 2 babies in the house as well. Yeah.
And the neighbors?
Neighbors was my brethren. Left and right, upstairs, downstairs. You know, we all used to live in one estate. You know, and it was a crime if you never had a flat in East Town, for instance, where I used to live. So anyway, that was never an issue. Noise, you know, was never an issue. But that's where we start from. 1979.
You moved to the tamba then with the bass, or still with the 2 fingers?
I became fluent with the bass, but guess what? After I became digital, everything is done on the keyboard. So I lose some element of my bass playing, you know, but I become a master on the keyboard. I can play any instrument on the keyboard, you know, and that's it. I'd like to be master of one than be jack of all. Yeah, that's me. And that's how I've progressed over the years to the productions what you hear today.
But you played Soundsystem for like 6-7 years, yeah? You played up and down the country, or were you just
No, up and down.
Up and down.
North, south, east, west, Damascus. Other than London, we never played in London.
Really?
Really never played in London. But you had a Jamaica sound based in London. There was 3 Jamaica sounds in the UK.
Yeah.
One in the West Midlands, myself, and there was one in Reading, and there was a 3rd in London. all three Jamaicas.
When you talk about them times, was that like, because the world wasn't so connected as it is nowadays, yeah? And when you go play to Bristol, to Manchester, and did they have like different styles, different approaches, different things in the community, or was it always the same thing?
It was very similar. Each one was playing same similar selection that was around at the time. In those days, it's who could play the most exclusive cuts of a popular 45, or play the tune a year before it's released. You know, that's how it was back in the day. And I suppose it's who you know, not what you know, it's who you knew back then. Because you know, you'd meet people who are not in the dance, are not involved with sound system, but they have music contact. And these people would get tunes from Jamaica and have no association with sound. But you get to find out these things, and you check them and you get tunes, you know, and you get exclusive tunes, you get tunes which don't get released till this day, some of them, you know.
Yeah, like Manasseh talked last year, he was in the dub talk, and he talked about a dub cut of Shaka Kunta Kinte that still to this day doesn't know the name of the tune, you know.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Kunta Kinte, that's a typical example. A lot of songs had that tune. But who could play the most cut of that tune? Shaka was the one I knew played the most cut of that tune. I remember he played about 10, 12 cut of it. You know what I mean? Where the average song would have 2 or 3. You know, that's how it was back then. It's who could play. And do remember, you know, all the mixes that he's playing are from the master tape. So each one is mixed differently from the other. And that's how we used to rate sound system as well. We used to rate sounds by sounds that could do things like that. Fat Man, Shaka, Coxsone, you know, all these sounds are, you know, when they play dubs or tunes, they never used to play ordinary tunes, you know. Their versions of the normal tunes was always mixed different. Always.
Exclusivity and elusivity was those two things that define like sound system culture back in the days.
Yeah? The exclusivity comes in when you get something first. Yeah? You know, and then the other side of exclusivity is when you alone can play that tune. And back in the day, you know, if you don't produce this tune yourself, then you can't say you alone can play it. Someone else will find a copy of it and play it. You know? And yeah, that's how it was.
I remember seeing a video with Saxon where he said, every little time you play is a clash. Every little time you play is a clash. And there was one interview with you, and I'll quote you, roots clashes as a thing almost of the past. So root sound don't clash anymore as they used to. Yeah?
No, it's not like it was. Today it's unified, I would say. It's unified, where you get 2, 3 sounds playing in one session and no argument or no animosity or anything like that. You know, everybody's just on a vibe. And that is mainly it right now across, you know what I mean? You don't see sound clash with root sounds directly no more. And dare say, you know, as I've said many a time before, the competition element is always there. I say this all the time. If 2 songs are gonna play each other, one, you know, the other song is not gonna want him to sound better than him. Sure. He's not gonna say. In his head, you are not gonna want him to sound better than you. Or he's not gonna want you sounding better than him. It's a mental thing. You know, back in the day we used to say it out loud, you know what I mean, chant on the next man and chant on the next song. But today, it's in the mind, you know what I mean? But it's good because it improves the sound systems. Mentally, without each one of them even knowing it. You know, the sound systems improved. Since I was last here, I'm seeing 21 hogs. They were here the last time I was here, you know. I'm looking at, you know, well-made scoops now, you know, and stuff. So,
Thank you.
progress. That's what I call progress in sound systems. You know, I mean, I'm going everywhere across the world now, and I'm seeing the same thing. You know, everyone has adopted this, what we call sound system, across the world.
When did you first start playing abroad?
Well, must be 30 years now.
Seems so. 90s.
Yeah, when I really started to travel. France was my first place.
Yeah. It always was from UK to France
Yeah.
to the world.
France, Germany, you know, Europe, you know, France, Germany, Belgium, you know, Holland. I used to go a lot. You know, and then it started to get a bit further. You know, I've been to America about 8 times. You know,
So because of sound system culture originating in UK and it gets shown to the world in the 90s, and every country has its own cultural filter, so to say. They take some aspects, others they leave. Yeah. So what did you like encounter in the 90s? What do you think about it like globally? I mean, you know, most of the UK you don't know where Croatia is before Outlook Festival anyway.
well, but to tell you the truth, you know,
Yeah.
throughout the 90s, I was stuck in my studio. Yeah. I didn't really go out much. I wasn't the sound system world. From where I was sitting, had died down. And then in the early 90s, I heard about Abashanti, Irish and Steppers, who I knew. And then you had Russ Disciple, who had his sound called Boom Shakalaka. You had Jawaria, Steve Moscow. You had a few sounds now in the 90s that brought back the roots thing. Shaka was always there, he never stopped. But a lot of the root sounds stopped, or they went to dancehall. You know what I mean? So, but from where I recall, these songs I just mentioned was the ones that brought it back in the early 90s. No, I was producing tunes, and I came across Abashanti, and he was able to get some of my dubs. And you know, this is where it all began for me as well, as alongside Shaka was playing my tunes as well from earlier time. Well, in the 90s now, that's when it all really kicked off for me. But I wasn't really out there with the sound system. I was in the studio. Yeah, producing.
Well, you made the Roots Injection label in 99.
99 we bring out the label and rename my studio. From my late brethren, Ras Benji. I renamed the studio Roots Injection 1999, and then we came out with a label. Skip a few years, 2013, the Soundsystem came out. So don't forget, I'm still actively playing Soundsystem today. One day you must come and check Roots Injection when you're in UK. Yeah. The sound system.
Sound system,
Yeah.
don't forget, sir. But you produce like seminal dub plates where you said for ABBA, also for Channel One, also the...
Well, they were the songs that was around at the time when I started, and so I was actually moving around with ABBA at the time. So ABBA would get tune, and Mikey would get tune, and everybody else who would check me get tune. That's how it was, and you know, eventually people put 2 and 2 together and then put the name with the music, and then that's how Ras Muffet came about. Well, I was always known as Ras Muffet from the 70s.
Yeah.
That's a long story. I want to.
You can do it, really.
It's a long story. But it's I got the name from when I was living in Wolverhampton, late 79, 78, 79, and carried through to now. Yeah.
Seeing as you traveled the world, and a friend of mine here on the festival said, I asked him, do you have something to ask me? You know, Ras Muffet, elusive figure, not much is known, as reggae is elusive, so to say. He said, you know, he was in Serbia in 2007. I said, really? Do you remember the time there?
Yeah. Yes, very well. I link up with my virgin Hansman Coyote.
Big up the man. He was supposed to come, but things and times.
Yeah. And I don't know how he done it, but he brought myself and Keith Roots. Yeah. We actually done a session there, and we done some tunes in his flat with his mom. You know, 2 home tunes. He brought his virgin in to play, so we had two trombone players, and we done some sessions with him there. But you know, I learned about the history of the place as well.
Keith told me actually you were there with him. We were hosting Keith a few months ago.
Because you know, obviously at that time you had the Bosnian War and all these terrible things going on. And when I was there, I saw the after effects of it. You know, and I thought, wow, these people are going through some terrible things, man. At 5, 6 o'clock at night, the light would dim, right down dim, so they could save on electric and all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
And the sanctions.
Yeah, and all kind of madness, you know what I mean? I got to learn about the history of the place and stuff. That's just one part of the traveling, you know, you learn. For me, if I have the time, I try and learn some background of where I am, like Croatia. If I get the time, I want to know some history. Fly around the place and see what's going on and learn some things. Why am I here otherwise? You know?
Tell me about the new generation of sound system crews. So when I was talking with Cardon, guys, they said you also mentor and feed dubplates to some new generation in the UK, especially in Wolverhampton. Yeah?
Nearly all of them. Those are current, like Itel Power, King Majesty, Shere Khan, you name them, on a regular basis. So, you know, I mentor them and help them with tunes and keep their vibes going and keep their vibes alive, you know, because they are the next generation from where I am. So we have to keep them focused and helpful with them as well, keep them motivated, you know, as much as we can. Yeah. They motivate me also, because they are part of the reason why I am still here, you know, especially with the sound system, you know, because they don't leave me out. They do involve me, you know.
I asked the same thing, Manasseh, but basically reggae and black music in general being more community oriented and also giving big aspects to longevity, you know?
Well, I can only talk about the roots side of things, you know.
Yes.
This is where I am. Obviously, we know reggae music gone into all manner of directions now. But for where I am, I'm trying to keep it real and authentic. And there's many of us like me. I'm not the only one, you know. So, you know, we try to keep it real and authentic, as well as make the youth them know, say, this is how it was. And this is what create what you're doing today. So you can't forget it. You know, that's all I'm saying, you know, you can't, you know, we don't want you them forget where they're coming from or where some of them are coming from. A lot of these youths today have parents who are all involved with sound system, at one part or another, one time or another, you know.
Was your family like hosting shabeens or somebody?
No, well, anyone ever heard of a song called Neville, the Musical Enchanter?
Yes, actually.
Right. That sound system goes way back 60s. Now, that's the only family I have that I know within Soundsystem, which is not directly my family, it was my uncle's wife family. But never was always the sound that played at birthdays, christenings, you know, as for the family. But he also played out as a sound system and he was bad, you know. He used to defend the roots. Them days you had Duke Reed, Neville, Count Shelley, Lord Coots, Coxon would have been there as well. But those are the songs I remember. I was 13.
Yeah. And that's the thing. When you like look at you all the generation basically in reggae and what. I can't ask you what's the first album you bought because that's not a thing to ask you, you know? Because music, I mean, for your kind of community, came naturally, you know, progression from parents, from there, it was always as a background. And you said like you learned to play yourself, through your friends who were musicians there, you know, yeah.
You know, what you have to understand, right? As a youth growing up, you needed something to do or something to focus on. Music became the thing for us, especially for me. My mother was musically inclined, so you know, my brother or my elder brother used to come home with bags of records, and me as a 8, 9-year-old used to sit there and just play tunes around me already. By the time I was 11, I was already alert to music that's been released on vinyl, because my brother used to bring them home every week. And I knew them all. And I progressed from there. I bought my first record, I was 9 years old. My Boy Lollipop. Millie Small. 1967. Yeah. That's my first record I ever bought.
Same as Gussie. I think that's like...
Same for all of us.
Yeah.
We're all living a mirror life. Just different parts of the country. We're all living a mirror life. Because we all more or less done the same things, from buying, collecting records, to sound system, to production, to where we are today.
Yeah, but I mean, you hear the same story from Gussie, and also what you meant in generational. I think he brought his grandson over there, you know, and the same story basically from Keaty. In that is this. It's has anybody ever seen Small Axe on BBC? Yeah, you get it. I think it's like for you lot, first generation British born black, the seminal experience there. Look at this.
Lord.
Somebody filled that.
I remember that.
Yes, so anyway, Small Axe, in case somebody ever gets to the internet in the next few days, pirate download it and check it out, and basically it is that story. And I mean, your reality and your life's experience is far away removed from the life experience in places you go play, you know. When you talk about Italy, France, even Croatia, we had our own troubles, our own different thing here, so around. But by understanding the differences is a thing where we can come closer together. When you talk about tribulation, when you talk about sus laws, institutionalized racism and thing, you know, you can associate, especially here, with, you know, wartime, when we had in the 90s, you know, poverty, and stricken from that. And I wanted to ask you, like, what's like your view, basically, on that, as reggae is a universal message which resonates somehow in all parts of the world. And did you ever thought it's going to bring you around here, like in these parts?
Well, reggae, to me, seems to play a big element around the world. Because anywhere we have reggae, there's peace. You know, so it's already trying to create a situation where people will, you know, be less aggressive to each other, less violent to each other. But you're always going to get that other side, you know. We can't beat them all. So, but reggae itself, of our reggae roots, of reggae general, I say reggae You got roots reggae, you got all manner of reggae now. So, but it's all playing its part. And as it stands across the world now, you know, a lot of the Jamaican sound, they use the old rubber dub rhythms now. They're using a lot of the old rhythm tracks to do their dubs and specials now. I find this, I will sit down and I listen to all of them, you know. And I listen, try and listen to what's going on, you know. Europe and beyond, including here, we all seem to have a certain element of certain style of dub that we all like, but then there's elements that like the older productions and the older tunes. I find that in Italy they do like the roots music as well as the dub. But I'm finding that in most places I go now. You get the element that likes the drum and the bass and the tough and boom bam boof, you know. And then you get the element that wants to hear the roots music, vocal, you know, from that perspective, you know. You know, slightly slower, you know, but rootical tunes you can pick vibes up. Nowadays tunes, the young man tunes his beats, and it's how many beats per minute, you know. But nothing wrong, I don't fight it. I still like to anchor, you know, that's how it's going, that's where the young man gonna take it. Well, make it go that way they talk. It can go that way, nothing wrong.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you cut out the branches, you still got the roots in it.
That's right.
Yes.
There's always going to be that element in there, which they all do, because that's where they're getting their vibes from. You know, and everyone's interpretation is different. I've watched Europe grow in the last 20 years from not really knowing anything, and then now, you know, some people travel and see where it's going and see go to where it's happening, and then they bring it back and then take it to the next level, and now it is where it is. Everyone can build tune now.
Is that a good thing?
No, look, you can't beat technology.
Yeah.
You can't beat technology. I'm 66. I am highly motivated by technology because it's a time, this is a different time now. And if you don't really catch up with certain things, you don't need to be following it. You know, I tend to use technology just to help me get the word and get the music out. That's what I use technology for.
So how's the label doing nowadays?
I haven't really released anything in the last, well, till I lie. Rest in peace, I do natural. Was the last time I pressed any tunes, which was about 3-4 years ago. Yeah, we done a 10-inch called Wanderer. Anyone know it? Yeah, it's still around. I've got some copies. Anyone is interested. And we done a 7-inch with we done a 7-inch. We done 2 CD albums, a dub album and a vocal album with Natural. Sadly, he passed away, so that's the last time I released anything. You know, but from a pressing point of view, I haven't done any major pressings now for a long time. For a good while, yeah.
Really? You're busy with life?
Well, you know, I'm a dub plate now. It's just dub plate.
Yeah.
I create music, you know, put them on, create sample packs, and that's it. That's what keeps me going today. So I just keep building tunes. I'm fortunate that, you know, when I'm sitting in my studio, everything just comes to me. You know, I mean, if I can go in the studio with nothing, once I sit on that chair in front of the mixer, I finish 2 tunes in a couple of hours.
Inspiration.
Yeah, directly. And everyone is saying to me, Muffet, how can you make so much tunes? Where are you getting all these, you know? I said, Bridget, Jah give me the power still. So I just use that to my advantage and go through. And I'm a one-man band these days, as far as the music is concerned.
do it all by yourself then?
All.
Really?
Everything. The studio is set in such a way that I can sit there and all my instruments in front of me and I can just build. There's no hold-ups, there's no delays or anything, you know, it's just set that way. I build, mix and record.
Same, one after another, eh?
One after the other.
Yeah, when you said like, when I asked is that with technology a good thing, a bad thing, I mean, as the way you explaining your experience from building up a sound from scratch, now it's become a lot easier to do, and it doesn't weed out basically the ones who didn't bite hard enough to it. Yeah?
No, I mean, again, you know, technology has advanced in such a way today that it's become readily available.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, back in the day, it was £1 per watt. And when you buy a 500 watt valve amp, because it was had to be valve, there was no transistor amps then, so 500 watt valve amp would cost you £500, and that £500 was a lot of money. That is like £5,000 today, you know. So it's not everyone could afford to say have a piece of 5, let alone 3 or 4 or 5 of them. Like Quaker City, you had 6. Yeah, you know.
When Alex said you get the money from that,
Then days you find it, you know. That's how it was. You just work. Well, I have always had a job. If I'm being honest, I've always had a 9 to 5.
What's your profession?
I am multiple, you know. I am a carpenter, or was, I retired now. Was a carpenter, tiler, builder.
work with your hands.
I had 2 brothers who were property developers. They used to buy old properties and do them up. And I was the one that fitted all the bathrooms and kitchens, laid the floor, you name it, you know. So outside music, this is what I used to do. And this is what provided the income for the music.
Yes, so there's kitchens somewhere made by you, and people living there have no idea that there's Ras Muffet kitchen and Ras Muffet bar.
No idea. They would have no idea too. This went on, 30 years I was doing this. Yeah. I retired from it because I developed what we call a painter's elbow. Too much doing of this, it mash up my arms, you know. So, you know, I just retired from that and being on my knees all the time. So I retired from that and found something to do. But I've always had a little simple job here and there, you know, and that's what helped to, you know, finance, especially the studio, you know. I built a studio in 1979. I went and bought a reel-to-reel mixer, you name it. I built a little studio. And those days, you know, we have a thing they call hire purchase. That means you go in the shop, if the item costs £1,000, you can pay for it £20 a week. So a lot of us was able to get a lot of equipment this way, and speakers for sound system. Back in the day, when you had to have a job. So you know, for those of us who had jobs, this is the route most of us took to acquire equipment. You know, and like I said, I built a studio. Couldn't do anything, but I built a studio. And then musicians start to come.
Yeah, basically from there, we got a few more minutes. Anybody question from the audience? Somebody this time. Don't be like last year. Alex, I'm looking at you.
Well, I don't know. About financing, I'll try to speak loud, okay?
No, it's cool. I will repeat it.
About financing things, I heard that, like in black community, it was not easy to take a loan from a bank, and you had your own kind of banking system, shifting money. Could you elaborate on that?
Those are things we call partner.
Partner.
Yeah, partner. Yeah. It's something we got from our parents. And it would involve the community. Probably not everyone, you probably end up with about 20 people in the partner, and each person would pay £20 each week. And at the end of a certain period, you got a big payout. And if you had 20 people, they just rotate it, and it's, and just keep paying £20, £20, and after 6 months, somebody get their pay, like they get a big lump sum, and then you continue, and then the next person get their lump sum, and that's what used to happen.
There's a lot of trust involved in that, huh? I mean, money is a sensitive topic.
Well, inevitably you get some partners that break down, but that was one way of, accumulating money. I know that from my parents' times, you know what I mean? Us, my time, we used to hustle things, man. We used to hustle. So to create money, we would get coconut and coconut shell and make African maps out of the shell, We'd get car tires and make sandals, and sell, I used to go to the library, and you see, because I was always technically minded, I had a good camera back in the day, so I used to go to the library and photograph all the pictures of Selassie. And print them and get them printed and put them in frames, and we'd sell them at sessions, and people used to buy, we used to go to market and buy peanut shell, the roasted peanuts, buy a big sack of it and sell at sessions, and oranges, same thing, Food, people, that's why the food cooking started. And look what you guys are doing here with the food. I remember when all these things just started in this dance hall, and people start to sell food, and it's like, what made a massive difference to the sessions, And it's carried through till this day everywhere, you have to have the right food as well. But, there was many ways we would hustle to make money, to make sound, Some sounds was lucky that they got government grant to actually make a sound system from the government. I could name a few, and that was one option as well, Other than that, you work and save and buy your things, and that's how it was.
I mean, for some sounds in Europe, things are not that way. For us, things haven't changed. Zoran will tell you how we got the sound, money from the sound after this. This is not for the internet, The Muslim Apostle. I will ask you just one more thing to wrap it up a bit and to enjoy our festival. You were first generation British born black, innit?
I was. I'm one of them. I was born 58.
58.
But I have a couple of virgins who were born 57.
I mean, around that time. Don Letts himself said about that created his identity, and the way you and your brethren all across the country look to Rastafari as a shield, as a weapon.
Well, Rastafari never came into my life until I was 14. English schools never taught us about our own history. They only taught us their history. And one day I remember they made a mistake, and they showed this program called Roots on the telly, national. And once black people saw that, we sort of realized what really took place to lead us to where we are at that time. So we all rebelled as youths. And Rasta now was part of it, because we rebelled from a black sense. And then those of us in the UK now, we rebel from a Rasta sense. Because that's what we saw. Now, from my experience to where I am today, I remember when I was 13, there was a film called Harder They Come.
Yeah, the great film from Jamaica. Jimmy Cliff starring. Everybody who didn't watch it.
from a visual aspect, visual, when we all saw that movie, we all locks up the next day. Everyone locks up the next day.
What did your parents say to you?
Well, there was a lot of friction.
Yes.
There was a lot of friction. A lot of us got thrown out of our houses, all manner of things, you know. And many years later, before even our parents accept us, you know what I mean? But we fight the fight, and then, you know, from a visual aspect, and then from a verbal aspect, you know, we find out things, we find out about counters and the wrist, you know, we find out about all manner of things, and then Selassie, we find out about Selassie, and then we find out about our identity, and we find out where we are come from, and where we possibly can go. So me I say, so some of us keep the faith till this day, you know. Remember, Rasta is not a religion, you know, it's a faith. It's a way of life. Don't get it twisted. It's a way of life. That's why we see it. We have crowned Selassie as our King of Kings, which is a direct descendant of King David. We all know that, you know, and that's where the biblical element comes into it. We could talk till next week about this, right?
Yeah, man.
But
I wanted to
remember, no, sorry to cut you.
Please.
There is one name that a lot of people forget from a biblical point of view is Ishmael. Now, Ishmael was given the power of technology. So this is why I remain that way till this day. That's why when some people fight the technology, you know, and fight it when used in music, I don't. I mean, I just work with it. It's where we are today. You know, I never had this opportunity when I first started. Imagine if I started with all of this.
Yeah, you need to start. You need to start from the bottom to get somewhere. But because I asked you that about your experience as a first-generation British-born black, you rebelling from your parents, who I suppose wanted more to fit into society.
Well, they all did. Yeah, they all wanted to fit in. You know, that's why my name is Steve Johnson. Do I look like a Steve Johnson to you? And in a lot of cases, you know, our parents gave us these names to try and help us get on in the English society.
Yeah, the way to hell is paved with good intentions.
You know, and I don't blame them for it. You know, it's just how things was. You know, and growing up, I never knew racism until I was 13, 14. As a child growing up, I never see it because the schools was totally mixed. I never see nothing, I never heard anything or anything like that. But when I went to secondary school, 13 now, I started to experience things at school. And I went to a boys' school, no girls. So in schools like that, is the fittest of the fittest survives. You understand me? And when you're black, you better be in the right place at the right time, because if you're not, you're gonna get turned over, you know? And that's how it was going through school. So you develop an armory, you know, within school. This is before you hit the streets. So it all started even from school. So by the time we left school, you know, we were militant already, you know, because of what school put us through. And then we were taking that on the streets. So it's like them days, man, it's like, you know, you slip, you slide. You know, when you know, if you was out on the street. You know, and police was another matter. You know, you get arrested just for looking the wrong way. You stand at a shop looking at the shop, you get arrested, you go to jail for 3 months.
It's a susla.
That's what they call the susla. Yeah. I suspect you of. That's what it means. And a lot of my generation has got a criminal record because of this. But none of us haven't done anything, you know, we just go to jail for no reason. And that's how it was. We have to live with it, you know, and go through. And here we are today, some of us can talk about it, like myself. You know, because your generation would know what some of us went through to even be here. You know, I can tell you I've escaped death many times. You know, along my trails to be here, to come and play music. You know, it's a serious thing, you know, for some of us, you know. And you know, in my case, I'm trying to make sure there is a legacy left behind, or some form of legacy to go forward. I've already had some, I've already had some young sound systems approach me ready to take the library and take it forward, you know. So I'm saying, well, look, you're gonna have to at some point.
Yes, yes. So we all have to leave this place some way or another and to leave a legacy.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Why are we here otherwise? Sometimes I look at some man, you know, some man just wake up from day to day and go to sleep and don't achieve anything, don't do anything. So it's like a waste of a life, you know. You know, I'm not saying I'm a millionaire or anything like that, but I know I have to do something to better myself. If I can't, you know, inspire others, you know, in good things, you know, things I know that work and people appreciate. I want to learn. You know, what are you going to do? Take it with you? No, can't take it with you. I'm not taking it with me. I'm passing it on.
Yeah. We're gonna conclude with this one, as real as it gets, see? Yeah. We're gonna conclude with this one. Ras Muffet is also today. Roots Injection play. Lots of sound systems, lots of things to do here on Escape the City Festival. So I want to thank you all for coming. Thanks Muffet for
Thank you, Bless.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Don't forget later, 10 o'clock, sign on. So do remember that one, 10 o'clock later. And we've got 4 hours of tunes that you have never heard. And never will, unless I give them to the sounds. I'm going to do some tunes with every sound system that is here before I leave here tomorrow. Bless.